President Uhuru, one time he said while in one of the meetings at Sagana Lodge that he never promised Raila to back him during the elections period. You heard what Minor Commander said. Uhuru could not pick phones. It is true because he could not pick our calls. Uhuru was not in good terms with the people who were fighting Ruto.
That's a revelation.
Yeah.
So you think that a Raila government would have been friendly to the ICC?
Of course, because they would have been more friendly to ICC than Ruto. Because Ruto is already at the matter was taken to the ICC. So how can he be friendly to ICC? His government can never be friendly to ICC. Never.
Tuko family, how are you doing? You good? Thank you. I'm also doing very well, and I believe that we will have a very candid conversation here with our guest today. This is Tuko Siasa. My name is Kingori Wangeshi, and our guest today is a political pundit. He has been a senator, a nominated senator for that matter, so he has so much experience in terms of representation, oversight, and legislation, matters counties, and devolution. I'm talking about Senator Paul Njoroge. Senator.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yes.
I'm doing it right.
Thank you very much for being on Tuko Siasa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Karibu.
Asante kwa wakati wako.
Okay.
Let's begin from where you are right now.
Yeah.
What happened after you left the chambers?
Of course, I've been playing politics outside the chamber.
Yes.
The whole of last term, I was trying to, rather I was helping my candidate, who was Raila Odinga, and also helping Uhuru in terms of advice as far as development is concerned.
Yes.
But you know, there is always a limit. We do what we can.
Yes.
The rest is left to the owners to do the finish, or rather to do the final touches.
Yes.
Of any work which is supposed to be done by the executive. So that's what I've been doing. In fact, after I left Senate, lucky enough, there was a road in Naivasha, from Naivasha, Maraigushu to Jabini, the road which I had requested the president to see it done. And he gave me one condition, that in condition I was the one who was to monitor and make sure that the road was properly done, because it was my road, if I may put it.
Yes.
So I was busy with that road until it was complete. Then from there, of course, as I've just told you, is that also keen, trying to follow very closely the politics of Raila, who was actually my candidate. But all in all, you know, it went the way it went. And the Kenya Kwanza team had to beat us, finally.
If I may ask, why did you choose to support Raila Odinga?
One, you know, to start with, you know, there was that handshake, which I really supported, because of the peace initiative which him and the president forged forward to make sure that we went a term. We finished that term with a lot of peace and some development taking place when we enjoyed that peace. So that is one of the things I really admired, to have Raila as my candidate. And the other thing is him being as the long two-term presidential candidate, someone who has really vied for many times, and with his policies at the same time. Because remember, Raila has come a long way fighting for the democracy of this nation. And again, he's a good man, generally. So he's the man I had seen before. I didn't know what Ruto would do. I'm yet to see, because he just came in the other day. But with Raila, because he was there when he was the prime minister for that term between him and Kibaki, I thought it was okay if we would give him a chance, yeah, to try it out.
So without looking at the advantages or disadvantages of the case that was in court, do you think that you were beaten fairly or you lost fairly?
One, I would be tempted to say this way. You know, for many years now, rigging is part of election, to me, because that is our culture. That is the Kenyan culture. So I would say, if I go by what Azimio was saying, that there was massive rigging, I would say that they won fairly. Those are the means of maybe interfering with the election gadgets. Then I would say it was fairly done, because there was no enough proof. That is what the Supreme Court said. Then how would I say that the rigging was, the elections had rigging, yet the Supreme Court told us whatever was there was not enough, or there was no enough proof from Azimio. Yeah, there was no enough evidence that was produced in court for Azimio to ascertain their claim of rigging. Because in the first place, you know, I just feel ashamed if I would get tempted to say that there was a rigging which took place. Why? Because Raila was being supported by the sitting president by then. So he had the upper hand. We had the upper hand. But, en route, I think something never went on well, because that is not what I expected from a sitting government, because Ruto and his team had already taken the role of opposition early before.
And yet he was in government.
Yet he was in the government. And there was a lot of confusion, because I also do not understand that kind of a structure whereby you get the deputy president who claims to be in the opposition, yet he's enjoying all facilities that a deputy president would be enjoying. So I think to some extent I would say that Raila's hands were tied.
How so?
Because, you know, he was being, the Azimio was being headed by the sitting president. And now the other party was being headed by the deputy president. Yeah? So here comes Raila at the middle of the president who claims to be supporting him, and the deputy president who directly seems to be fighting him, and also seems to be fighting the president himself. And as you well know, that is not an African culture. No country in Africa would allow, no president would allow such a kind of an act from the deputy president. To me, as far as my conscience is concerned, I still feel that Uhuru would have done a lot than what he did. We would not be the people who would be claiming rigging to have taken place when we had every machinery to make sure that rigging was not to happen.
So are you in support of words that have been associated with Embakasi MP, Babu Owino, that this was what he calls a long con, or that Raila Odinga was duped?
I think action speaks louder than words. It is the action. Yeah? You know, we are also intelligent people. And there is a culture of every arrangement. And elections have those cultural arrangements whereby if things are not done properly, then anybody would tell. So President Uhuru, who has been a good buddy of mine, I think one time he said, while in one of the meetings at Sagana Lodge, that he never promised Raila to back him during the elections period. But I think en route, since he was still talking to his deputy, because it is weird if you tell me they were not talking. That is the deputy president, and this is the president. I don't think we are that foolish Kenyans, you know, some of us. We know there must have been communication. The signals, signs would tell.
Which one can you pick that would tell you that they were communicating yourself?
They were communicating simply because, to start with, the constitution is very clear, the role of the deputy president. And none of those roles that Ruto had really stepped down. Yeah? You see, Ruto would always claim that when he is touring the country, he was on a development mission. Yeah? And again, remember Uhuru, those last times, those last months, he was not in good terms with the people who were fighting Ruto in his government. Yeah? That one I'll tell you for sure. He could not communicate to any, neither pick calls nor even sit down with them.
Please, let's get that again, that he was not in good terms with the people who
were fighting
the deputy president.
President by then. Yeah. And I think to confirm that, you heard what Minor Commander said. Yeah? That Uhuru could not pick phones. It is true, because he could not pick our calls. Yeah? That means the only person he was really trying to make sure that he could not really get that was Raila and his original team. But the other team from this other side of Jubilee, Uhuru was not in good terms with the people who were fighting Ruto.
That's a revelation.
Yeah. And again, see to it this way. You know, there's this thing we call political suicide. Uhuru would always make sure that he was demolishing houses just during the campaign period, yeah, in areas where people would really fight back and fight now his government, whereby he really made sure that everybody believed that his helpman was Raila but not Ruto. Yeah? So in that matter, the victim was to become who? Raila.
But now, Senator, this will not be the first time that an establishment candidate, so to speak, because yes, Raila was being supported by the government, it's not the first time that a candidate supported by the government is losing. The former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, in 2002 was supported by the then President Moi, and he lost. Don't you think this was history repeating itself?
Yeah, it was history repeating itself to some extent, but look at it this way. You see, President Uhuru, he's the one who was saying that he's supporting Raila, if I may put it. But remember, that is half of his government. Because Ruto had the other government. Yeah?
Had his half.
Yeah, had his half. So what does that mean? What he could only do was to annoy the electorate, which would work against Raila. And that is why he would hike the prices of commodities, even essential commodities, with that don't care attitude. Yeah?
Walileta unga ya 100.
Yeah, but for how long? It was short-lived. If we went back again to Ariran or something, they had already removed that subsidy, yeah, thing by then. So it meant that he was very keen on that. Because if you just ask yourself, was it proper for him to keep on increasing costs or prices of commodities which were being used, while at the same time Ruto and his team were still fighting the government against that? Was it in order really during that period, the 90 days period?
So you think all this was a bit psychological?
Yeah, of course. Because you see, even in 2002, when Moi actually supported Uhuru, Moi was not that serious for Uhuru to become the president. Let me tell you that.
Today you're just giving us revelations.
I was in politics. Mm-hmm. Because you remember, Moi was very arrogant to people, to leaders who had majority of votes within particular regions. Yeah? He chased them with a lot of don't care attitude. That is the same thing Uhuru was doing. And you know what? It is simply because Moi was comfortable. If Kibaki won, he had nothing to lose.
And now this current situation, when Ruto won and now is the president, likewise, President Uhuru has nothing to lose.
I mean, Uhuru has nothing to lose by Ruto becoming the president. Mm-hmm. No. One, I'll tell you that he would be more comfortable with Ruto being the president than Raila. Ask me why.
Why?
You see, I went to Netherlands together with Uhuru during his last days at the ICC courts. And I remember the prosecutor making it very clear that they are suspending Uhuru's matter due to the government was not cooperative in giving them some materials which they were supposed to use to get the communications between Uhuru and whatever during that time of crashes, which I also believe there was no enough communication to make them actually convict Uhuru. That one, I'm sure of that. But to them, they thought since Uhuru was in power, together with Ruto, they had already denied the court some important information which they would use
against them,
against Uhuru. That time was against Uhuru. But what the prosecutor said in court was, I think the outsiders far from the family, the close family, the immediate family of Uhuru. I think the other person who was in that courtroom was me, the former Attorney General, Muigai, Balala, and Ngilu. And what he said once Kenya would get a friendly government, they would revisit the matter. Look at it this way. Why was Uhuru accused in ICC? It is matters to do with Naivasha. Yeah? Who became victims in Naivasha? It is the Luo community who became more affected in Naivasha than any other community. So as far as Uhuru is concerned, because his matter was not extending Nakuru, yeah? The matter which was really surrounding Ocampo presenting his name as an accused or as a suspect was simply because of what happened in Naivasha around that county of Nakuru. Whereby, you know, it's a common knowledge because it's obvious Uhuru never came to Naivasha. I'm a person from Naivasha, remember that. He never came to Naivasha. He never participated to what was really happening in Naivasha because he never came there. So to me, it never made any sense. But because already there was that political arrangement of having 3 from this side and 3 from the other side. You know, the ODM people, guys would actually fix the mighty one in as far as politics is concerned from PNU. And so Uhuru was to be number 1. Then the other side was Ruto and his team. Yeah? So they picked 3 from this side and 3 from this side. But you know what? You know, if that is a monster which was awaiting Uhuru in future.
So you think that a Raila government would have been friendly to the ICC?
Of course, because they would have been more friendly to ICC than Ruto. Because Ruto is already at the matter was taken to the ICC. So how can he be friendly to ICC? His government can never be friendly to ICC. Never. Never. And if I were Uhuru, my way of thinking would be the same.
So is Uhuru a political chess master then?
Of course he is. You know, politics is a game. Though a dirty
game.
Though a dirty game.
So you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's so good at it?
I would not say he's so good at it. You know, sometimes circumstances forces someone to, you know, when time comes now for the reality in terms of deciding whom you want to lead you, whether in MCA election, whether in member of parliament, governor, you know, there are those days when you really think hard. You put jokes aside and you get to reality.
But he did not even congratulate Dr. William Ruto until the very last day he was going to hand over.
Who told you? He never congratulated him.
Senator.
I mean, you are saying so because you never saw it on a television.
Yes, he read a speech.
But finally, what happened?
He congratulated him.
Yeah.
On the very last day of his presidency.
That is what was very important. This was a head of state.
And now not the leader of Azimio, not the chair of Azimio.
Though I would not like to dwell too much on that one, but to me, that is how I understand it. You know, to start with, if today we are here, if tomorrow you tell people you are not at where we are, having this interview, but definitely, you know, we were here. Someone else had seen us that we were here. So that person, you cannot change the position of that person. He'll still keep on saying that we were there. I think it is not very important right now what Uhuru was doing, because in the first place, what I am encouraging Kenyans is that we were looking for a leader, whichever way. Not from Tanzania, not a person from Tanzania or Uganda, a person from Kenya. And we had two candidates, two potential candidates, who was Raila on the other side and Ruto on the other side. If we won, I would be happy, because my candidate would have won. Yes. But now, the person who won was William Ruto. He is my president today. He was campaigning as the president of the Republic of Kenya. But then, he is the president of the Republic of Kenya and also the commander-in-chief of the defense forces. He never campaigned for that. Mm-hmm. That came through constitution. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So why can't I be happy that he is the president? Because we got to support that government as much as we can. Because we would like to see the government deliver. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Simply because we are the beneficiary or the loser. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And in this case, remember, we are the taxpayers. We are the ones who have employed Ruto, if I may put it. We are the ones who are paying his salary and the rest of the team. So I think that right now, everything, what happened before election, yeah, and after now, the declaration period and the Supreme Court period, that should be behind our back. Right. I think the best thing is to make sure that we support Ruto and his team as much as we can, simply because we would be fooling ourselves if we make them fail in that leadership.
We'll be failing ourselves.
We'll be failing ourselves.
And future generations.
And future generations. And it won't make any sense, because we will have wasted the 5 years for nothing. If we normally say, if you can't beat them, join them. So I would encourage the Azimio brigades, those people who really supported Raila, let's get back to our senses. Ruto is the president, and he will remain the president for the rest of the term. So the best thing for us to win, to look like we are still the winners, it is actually to support Ruto.
Very well, very well. So now let's look forward to the future. What are the challenges that are awaiting the Ruto administration, in your view?
One, I would say that the expectation is too high. And especially that group he was calling Hasra. Because what he promised and what is the reality are two different things. You heard that his deputy saying the other day that they are not fools. They cannot bring down the price of petrol and the price of unga. What they expected to do was to empower the farmers. That is what he said. Mm-hmm. Not everybody is a farmer. So what about those who are not farmers? You cannot empower farmers by giving them rain, because that is not within their power. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So suppose there is that change of weather, what would happen? And yet, he categorically said that they are not ready to drop to bring the price of unga down, which they had said it would cost about 70 shillings once they would get to power. We are talking of that period of 100 days. I think they had said something of that nature. Again, we have the petrol, which actually, instead of dropping, it went up. I understand the status of the economy would probably not allow them, but they said it. So I would expect them to bring some awareness also to Kenyans to understand what is really happening. Yeah? The other thing is, I also see challenge. If the deputy president does not change the way he's doing things, he will find himself on the wrong side, the way I know my president, who is William Ruto.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because one, you cannot outshine your master. He seems to be too ambitious and still has not come out of that period of campaigns. We are far from that period now. It is working period. Remember, right now the question in place is what he said about the shamba system.
The forests.
The forest. You know, this is not an issue of Kenya alone. It is a global issue. So I don't know whether he will be able actually to maneuver that challenge, because he said it, not the president who said it. He's the one who said it. He has to be a bit careful. I like him because he's a go-getter, the way he looks, but also he should know that there is a boss who is William Ruto. He is not the boss. And Kenyans are not very keen on him. If he makes a mistake, he'll deal with it alone. Yeah, that is what he needs to understand.
That's the advice you give to...
Yeah, that is the advice I would give
to
Rigathi Gachagua. He needs to be a bit careful. Yeah. Okay. Remember during Moi era, we had people like Karanja, who thought that when Moi was away in abroad, he was the president. One time when the president went in overseas trip and he came back, he threw him out of that position. It is not possible with the current status of the constitution. But then don't forget, when he would start creating bad blood between him and the deputy president and the president himself, then it means there will be an issue. Yeah.
So he needs to be careful.
He needs to be careful. I mean, yeah, and he should calculate well his moves.
Let's now change to the topic of nominations.
Yeah.
It is a process you've gone through yourself, even representing people living with disabilities. What do you make of the nominations that have been done recently by different parties?
That has been more like a catcher to IBC. You know, IBC has really developed a don't care attitude and especially the way I see with Chebukati. He doesn't care. You get people coming from another county being nominated in another county, when the people of that county are the people who are supposed to be nominated. I'm not sure about whether what the criteria they used to get the categories which are supposed to be nominated, because you see there is a limit. You cannot just nominate everyone, anybody. That is. The people who enjoys mostly in this nomination are people with disability, youth and women. Yeah? But you see sometimes they get out of the way and they just pick someone and put them in the party list. And you see sometimes IBC does not do any due diligence to find out whether the names they have been given really matches with what is supposed to be there. So there's that challenge during the gazettement of the nominated officials.
You are not very happy with the elections because you wanted them to be done in 2023, but now they were done in 2022.
Yeah, you see, to my belief, and that is the position, there was a delay during 2017 election, simply because if you count the numbers of days The Uhuru and Ruto were supposed to finish their term not within that period when we held this election. So my argument was they were supposed to go up to next year in the month of August.
One extra year?
One extra year, yeah, just to cover that period, because that is what the Constitution says, yeah? You know, elections are supposed to be done in the month of August, yeah? Yes. Second Tuesday. In every 5th year.
Yes.
So they were not within the 5th year. The elections were held less, few months, about 3 months to 5 years, yeah. But that is not what happened. I went to court, but you know our courts, the ruling was different from what I thought. Yeah, or not from what I thought, from what the Constitution says. Yeah. And I blame our courts because they are not serious in sensitive matters, because that was a very sensitive matter. It was something which was supposed to have been adjusted in terms of the wordings in the Constitution.
Did we then take away 1 year from their administration?
Of course, yes.
Are there any, no, I don't think there will be any implications, are there?
There are, because I would tell you, if elections were done 1 year down the line, after that, when elections were held, the results probably would have been quite different. Yeah.
So we talked of the challenges that Ruto's administration has. How about the opportunities?
One, I would say that, let me say, we have a hard-working president, intelligent, and a go-getter. If he can walk the talk and deal with corruption, yeah, I'll tell you that Ruto can really perform well. The problem now we have is whether he'll be able to fight the cartels in his government, because 70% of the people who came in are notorious thieves in terms of public resources. Yeah. The proof is there because majority of them have cases in courts. Yeah.
That is quite a big number. 70%.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. And those are top leaders. When it goes now down to institutions like KRA, NSSF, all those institutions, you know, to them, this thing of that we are coming up with a corrupt government, most of them would mistake that and start enjoying, or rather continue enjoying, stealing money. Who are stealing the 2 billion which President said were being stolen in every day? Who was stealing?
Who?
Do you think Azimio people had a chance to do that?
They were in government, weren't they?
Azimio? They were in government. No, they were not. I mean, Azimio, I'm talking of politicians. But now the government, which was being shared by Uhuru and Ruto, is the one which was stealing 2 billion.
Okay.
The question is, how could he allow, if he was not supporting Ruto, that government to steal 2 billion every day? Yeah.
Let's now come down to you as a person. There was that incident that you were shooting.
Yeah.
What happened?
That I shot? Yeah, I was just protecting myself and my property. Some people came to attack me in my petrol station, led by former deputy governor of Nairobi, Polycarp Igathe. He had hired about 100 goons. What was I supposed to do? What is the meaning of a gun? Why do we own guns? You own gun to protect yourself as well as your properties. I was within my compound. Yeah? So if someone comes to attack you, I think if I were that loose or careless, I would have killed Igathe. Igathe, yeah. Igathe, because in the first place he was not supposed to be where he was.
Why were they coming to your petrol station?
You see, a week prior to that incident, Igathe had invited me to a hotel for a meeting. And what he said, he wanted me to be relocated by Vivo from that petrol station, from that location to another place. Simply because someone in the government felt that his life was in danger when I was operating within that highway, which that politician was usually using.
Really?
Yeah. But finally, because of the pressure, he told me that I have to vacate the place. And I went and acquired a court order. Remember when he came, I had a court order with me. Yeah? You see, the problem is he could not tell the media people why he's doing that. Any other reasoning, you see him being like the managing director of Vivo, he could not have come all the way because there were those managers within the region. Yeah, he would not have come out of his office at the headquarters, come just because of he was saying I was lacking fuel, because there were those other managers in the region who were supposed to do that job. And my tank were full. Yeah, even that day before I learned that they had already stormed the petrol station, I had come from the bank to deposit money so that they could do more delivery for my fuel. Yeah, I know he could not even have attempted to say whom he was actually assisting.
But you know who?
Of course I know the person. Yeah, yeah.
Are they in government now?
They are, yeah.
And what was the threat about?
You know, by then, I was really fighting one of the politician, and he felt like it was not safe for me being there. And there also, he wanted to cripple me financially, so that I could not, I had the interest of running as governor for Nakuru. Yeah. So these are people who are trying to bring me down. Okay. Yeah.
Will you run?
When?
Next election?
It's too early.
To tell.
Too early. Yeah, right now, I'm in business. I'm following keenly on what is happening. If Raila would have won, probably I would be in his cabinet. That is for sure. So let's see and wait and see what happens. We are just in the beginning of a new administration.
What do you like to do when you're not thinking about your business, when you're not thinking about politics? What are your hobbies?
Of course, like right now, I have a group of squatters, landless squatters, who actually have been requesting me to follow up for them a land so that they would be given some land within Machakos County. So that has really taken much of my time. to follow government land is also not a joke. Yeah, and it's a big team, about roughly 500, whom I really want to see settled in somewhere.
Yeah, how about your family?
My family is there, in Naivasha. That's where my wife and children are. Some of them are in colleges. Some of them are working.
What is your assessment of how the country handles people living with disabilities?
Fairly, I would say fairly. This is not a country we would count to be very rich. And so there are those challenges which are there. We say that they try. The government really tries as much as they can, because sometimes also, families who also have persons with disability, they have also a role to play, because if you don't bring out these people with disability, then nobody would really know that you have someone with disability in the house. But with the economic status of the country, definitely you'd know that there's still also some challenges, which the government is going through.
Allow me to ask, how did yours come about? Were you born like this, or
No. I'm being told, because I was 5 years old. Children of my age, at the age of 5 years, we could not tell things the way nowadays children who are 5 years would tell things. I think, but I understand there was a polio breakout. I think that is when I developed this kind of, when I was five years old. Yeah, but lucky enough, no pain. Yeah, I've come from far.
Yes.
Because there were days I could not use the walking sticks. I was using the crutches and the caliper shoes. So, but today I'm lucky I'm able to wear shoes like any other person. I've done a lot of exercise. Yeah.
So they help.
Yeah, exercise help. Yeah, I've come from far really.
And are you still going far? Because you look very strong.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, what we need is just to stay alive. We are yet to know what really ate Gesheru. Yeah. Paul Gesheru, is it? Yes. Paul Gesheru?
Yes.
Yeah, what I would appeal to the government also is to make sure that everybody stays alive. Yeah. After politics, you'd expect anything, and people sometimes would misbehave and start having grudges against their opponents. I know the president is not after any of that, but I would request him also to be on the look to his fellow men, because they would also get so much excited and start thinking that getting away, keeping away some of the people would really help, which would not help at all. Yeah, so it is the work of the government and also the president himself to make sure that the ground is friendly, yeah, to make sure that we continue living.
All right.
Yeah, because there is always tomorrow. Yeah.
Do you read, do you listen to music, or how do you get your information?
Yeah, I like music. I also like watching movies.
Which music?
Mogithi. Kofi Olomide. Yeah, so such a kinds of music.
Okay.
Yeah, but also to cultural music, because I really like listening to those wordings. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
You umetufungua macho. You have revealed some things we did not know.
Yeah.
And others probably will see how they pan out as we forge ahead.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And all the best.
All the best too.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you have it. That is Senator Paul Njoroge. He's a former nominated senator. He says it as he sees it. that is his opinion, not the opinion of Tuko Siasa, not the opinion of Kingori or of Tuko. I hope you have had an enjoyable conversation with Senator Paul Njoroge. Until next time, continue watching our videos, subscribe, and if you've not joined our Patreon and YouTube membership, you may also do that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.